which includes remixes and covers of different themes from the game. However, Undertale's soundtrack is in danger. Allow me to tell you a story about how one fan game has completely changed the dynamic of how Undertale's music is handled, and the company behind Undertale's music publishing is going against Toby Fox's wishes. This is the story of how Undertale's music is in copyright hell. Our story begins with, well, me. And this awesome fan game called Undertale Yellow that took 7 years to develop. It also begins with Materia Music Publishing, and if you don't know who they are, they're basically the people that publish Undertale and Deltarune's soundtrack. They handle all the legal stuff surrounding the music, so Toby doesn't have to deal with it himself, including copyright. Now, for you to understand this story, let's go back to a little bit before Undertale Yellow's release. Materia Music Publishing has always caused a lot of problems with people using Undertale's music, specifically through YouTube's copyright system. Basically, a couple years back, Undertale's music was always getting copyright claimed left and right on YouTube through their auto-claim system, and once it got claimed, there was nothing that you could really do about it. Now, Mr. Toby Fox didn't actually want this happening, so when he talked to Materia Music Publishing, they basically told him that there was nothing that they can really do, that there isn't a quote, do-nothing option in YouTube's copyright system that prohibit auto-claims. However, Toby wasn't willing to back down with how his music was being handled, so he struck a deal with Materia Music, and publicly released a statement saying that if any song from the Undertale or Deltarune soundtrack ended up getting auto-claimed, that you should dispute it, and it should be resolved. And that was supposedly the end of it. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be making this video if that were the case. This brings us to today, Undertale Yellow. If you don't know what Undertale Yellow is, it's probably one of the most hype Undertale fan games that has ever been in development. This thing took 7 years to develop and truly was a 10 out of 10 experience. It's clear that the team behind it really designed this game as a love letter to Undertale. The writing, the gameplay, the art, and the music, it's all so good. However, remember Materia Music? Yeah, they didn't actually like the concept of pieces of Undertale's music being included in their soundtrack, which in return had a massive domino effect with how Undertale's soundtrack is being handled in the YouTube copyright system, and it's in the most infuriating way. So, let me tell you the story of one of the most absurd, enraging, and disgusting moments in Undertale's history. I should preface this story by saying that if I'm seeming a little bit too dramatic or emotional at points, it's mainly just me being entertaining, and additionally, this isn't meant to completely shit on Materia Music. It's meant to be constructive criticism because what happened with them handling this situation truly needs to have attention brought to it. So what better way to bring attention to it is by making a video on it. With that out of the way, let's begin officially. Alright, so the date is December 9th, and Undertale Yellow just dropped. Hundreds of content creators around the world are currently playing the game, and that includes me. Hi, I was streaming the game on the day it was released, and the day after because I was feeling really sick on release day. Either way, my plan for these two streams was to combine them together and upload one really long playthrough of the game because having these two streams be separate is kinda weird, and I thought that I was going to be able to do this without much of a problem. Of course, given the context of what I talked about in the intro, it was certainly much of a problem. Now, before I go ahead and talk about what the problem is, and obviously it's going to be with Materia Music, I should note that Materia Music didn't actually do anything to either of these live streams when they were initially finished. Keep this in mind. Anyway, combining these two streams actually did end up being slightly annoying, as it took me roughly around 10 hours for my computer to render the full 6-hour video. However, I created a thumbnail and uploaded the video to YouTube expecting everything to be all fine and dandy. I mean, especially because both these live streams didn't end up getting copyright claimed at all. It's also important to say that I don't usually have problems with Materia Music claiming my videos. Weirdly enough, they typically only claim my live streams. So since Undertale Yellow consists of unique remixes and original music, I wasn't worried about copyright claims at all. However, then I uploaded this video. Turns out that when YouTube finished checking the video, the auto-claim system had detected that the song Enemy Approaching from Undertale's soundtrack was heard for 10 seconds of the video, and the entire 6 hours was completely not able to be monetized. This obviously made me upset, but I was used to stuff like this at this point as a YouTuber, so I sent in my dispute knowing that they would remove the claim because that's what Toby Fox told them to do. However, instead of waiting for the claim to be released, I decided to just cut the part out myself and re-rendered the video for another 10 hours. I figured that would be faster than waiting for them to release the claim because it takes between a day and 2 days for the claim to be removed anytime I get one. So that's what I did. Only for YouTube's auto-claim system to once again detect the same song, Enemy Approaching, in a completely different spot. This gave me a horrible realization. The battle music is getting claimed. This meant that no matter what I did past this point, I would not be able to cut out the copyrighted music because it's the battle music that's getting claimed. So my only option at this point was to wait for Materia to release the dispute. However, I heard from my friend Shay that contacting Materia directly can help speed up the process, so that's what I did. I added them on Twitter and they responded with ping. I mean, you could have just said email. I've never heard anyone say ping. Either way, when I emailed the address, I sent them over the claim information, and they were super friendly about it. Before they took a look at the claim, they asked me to review their YouTube FAQ, and then send them a link to the video that had the claim on it. So that's what I did. I looked through the FAQ, and the only thing I could find that my video didn't follow the rules of was that I needed to credit Toby Fox and Materia Music in the description. To be fair, I've never heard of this rule existing before, but hey, it was simply them asking to give credit to the people that own the music, so I can't be too upset about it. Credit is nice. I also sent them the link to the video too, which they requested. Now, it's very important to note here that I sent them the first video I uploaded, not the second video I uploaded. It's also important to note that I disputed the claims on both videos. Please keep this in mind as I continue this wonderful story. I was certain that the claim was going to be completely resolved at this point because they were being super kind to me over email, and Jay had reassured me that when I emailed them, the claim would probably 100% be removed. And then they emailed me back.
Damn it!
Do you want to know what they said? Thanks, Sibbles. It looks like Undertale music was used in a different game, so the copyright claim will stay in place for this one. So at this point, I was backed into a corner with nowhere to go, and I got a completely vague answer as to why this claim got denied for release. I had never, in my entire life, had heard of this before from anywhere. It doesn't even make sense. For one, Toby Fox said explicitly on Twitter that if you get auto-claimed, a dispute would be accepted and the claim would be released. Those were Toby Fox's words. And what about any of the other playthroughs of Undertale Yellow on YouTube? Why do so many other content creators get to have their playthroughs up, but why is my playthrough specifically having a problem with the battle music is getting copyright claimed? And when I asked them to remove the claim, which Toby Fox said they should be doing, they deny it? This response wasn't even in their YouTube FAQ. There was nothing in there that said that Undertale music can't be played when other games are present. But you want to know what was even more terrifying about this email? This email response was so vague that I couldn't even tell what the actual problem for this was. Does this mean that in order to use Undertale music on YouTube, the video has to be about the actual game? Like, if you were doing a video essay about something non-Undertale related, are you allowed to use Undertale music? I had to know more. So I followed up with an email clarifying that the music that is getting claimed was a remix of the original theme, which, by the way, on their YouTube FAQ says is allowed. And additionally, that other people are uploading their playthroughs of the game without any problem of copyright claims. And then they just completely ghosted me. I never got a response or any sort of clarification of what they meant by this. Now, those who have kept a sharp eye have realized that my Undertale Yellow playthrough actually did end up getting uploaded with full monetization. So let's go over how this happened. Remember earlier when I said to remember that I sent them the link to the first video that got copyright claimed? Yeah? Well, turns out they didn't even look at the video in question because they denied the dispute for the wrong video. So what's funny about this is that they denied the dispute for the second video I uploaded, but accepted the dispute for the first video I uploaded. And if you recall, the first video was the one I sent them in the link. So my only guess as to what happened here is that they saw Undertale Yellow in the title, denied the claim on the first video they saw that had Undertale Yellow in the title, and then continued to accept other disputes from other videos that were sent to them, which happened to include my video, and since they're meant to accept any disputes that get sent to them, they just accepted it without second thought. What? This was majorly infuriating and confusing at the time, but since the video eventually got its monetization back, I wasn't willing to take this further, until the CEO of Materia Music decided to throw a fit on Twitter. This is what finally made me want to make this video. So as I stated before, Undertale Yellow has its own original soundtrack, and they want people to go out and listen to it, especially because there was clearly a lot of effort put into it, and people enjoyed the music that can be heard in game. However, according to Undertale Yellow's Twitter, they couldn't put the majority of the soundtrack on streaming services, although this seemed to have actually actually been a joke, and they're just in the process of doing it. Although, even though this is a joke, the CEO of Materia Music decided to release a massive thread about Undertale Yellow. And you wanna know what he said? According to his reasoning, Undertale Yellow's soundtrack couldn't be put on streaming services because of the lack of a license, and encouraged people for in the future to contact Toby Fox about doing something like this beforehand. You can probably tell the problem with this. The entirety of Undertale Yellow's project did get approved by Toby Fox 7 years ago to exist. And on top of that, Master Sword Remix, the director of the project, did obtain the license for the music through DistroKid. Of course, this didn't stop Mr. Sebastian Wolf from stepping down against his arguments and then proceeded to call Undertale Yellow a passion project that took 7 years to create, that is 110% free to download, a commercial venture. This is when I forced my hand. I publicly posted about them refusing to remove the copyright claim from the Undertale Yellow, and then proceeded to talk about how this isn't even in their YouTube FAQ. It's important to note here that the CEO, Sebastian Wolf, was replying en masse to a bunch of people's comments, so I was sort of hoping that he would see my quote retweet that was gaining a lot of traction and respond for some sort of clarification. And of course, I got nothing. That is when, a couple hours later, I got a bit curious. Knowing how bad this company is with disrespecting Undertale, I wonder if they had updated their YouTube FAQ. I mean, it definitely sounds like something they would do, and sure enough, a couple hours later, after I had called the CEO out on Twitter, they updated their FAQ prohibiting the use of fan games that use music from the original game, which includes remixes or covers. This is just insane to me. This has never in the history of this game happened before. And what's funny enough is that right before this part in the FAQ, they say that remixes and covers are perfectly fine, except you just can't have them in fan games for some reason. This is what got me really concerned. If they were willing to completely change the rules on a dime out of nowhere, what's stopping them from changing the rules again? Sebastian was continuing to reply to people on Twitter and finally responded to other people talking about my copyright claim problem. Of course, not me myself, but regardless, he made another tweet going more in depth about the problem here, claiming that Undertale Yellow uses Undertale music synchronized to gameplay that isn't from Undertale. So I decided to respond to this, asking why specifically are fan games such as Undertale Yellow not allowed to get their claims removed? What about all the other videos that exist that use Undertale music as background music and don't have Undertale as a game present? Why specifically are fan game videos denied? Because I neglected to see the difference here. Once again, no response at all. And I know he saw my reply because it was definitely flooding his notifications because of how many likes it got. In fact, when asked this question by other people about if it's even safe to use Undertale music on non-Undertale videos, there just wasn't an answer. And this is what has me the most concerned out of anything. There are hundreds of YouTube videos out there that use Undertale music as background music. What if one day Materia decided to come out of nowhere and start claiming Undertale music on non-Undertale related videos? I mean, it's clear they changed their mind on fan games not being allowed to use Undertale music. What's stopping them from claiming other videos too? I mean, let's take a look at their YouTube FAQ. It doesn't actually say anywhere in their FAQ if Undertale music is allowed or not on non-Undertale gameplay videos. In fact, it says